In the 1980s, loggers in the Pacific Northwest kept running into a terrifying surprise. Their saw blades were snapping, sparks were flying, and metal was clanging everywhere. The culprit? Hidden steel spikes that were hammered deep inside of the trees. This wasn't an accident. It definitely wasn't fiction. It was the calling card of Earth First, a movement that took the rebellious spirit of Edward Abbey's monkey wrench gang and brought it crashing into reality. Now, this wasn't just a quirky footnote in environmental history. Earth First shook up how people thought about activism, about risk, and about the environment itself. Their actions sparked outrage, admiration, fear, and inspiration all at once. And that's what makes their story so fascinating to revisit today. So let's rewind a bit. Earth First was born in 1980 when 5 disillusioned environmentalists basically said, look, groups like the Sierra Club are too polite, too slow, and the planet does not have time for this compromise. Their motto, no compromise in defense of Mother Earth. The timing mattered. This was the Reagan era. We're talking deregulation, corporate growth, and a sense that big business had government on its side. For these activists, traditional lobbying and letter writing campaigns just were not cutting it. They wanted something bold, something loud, and something impossible to ignore. And they got that inspiration straight from Edward Abbey's book, The Monkey Wrench Gang. In fact, one of their first big stunts was rolling out a massive black sheet over Glen Canyon Dam to make it look like the dam had cracked. It was pure spectacle, pure theater, but it did send a message. Earth First was not here to play. Their methods? Let's just say not your standard peaceful protest. They pulled up roads to stop development. They hijacked billboards with their own slogans, and of course, they spiked trees. That meant that loggers risked wrecking their saws and sometimes injuring themselves if they even tried to cut down the tree. To Earth First, tree spiking wasn't about hurting people. It was about making companies hesitate, about forcing them to reconsider cutting down old-growth forests. They'd even claimed that they'd left warnings about spiked areas, but critics weren't buying it. To them, it was reckless, dangerous, and proof that Earth First had crossed a line. And it wasn't just tree spiking. There were road blockades, sit-ins high up in trees, even protesters chaining themselves to bulldozers. They called it monkey wrenching, sabotaging the machinery of destruction. It was dramatic, it was risky, and it was headline grabbing. At the heart of Earth First was a philosophy called deep ecology. The idea was radical. Humans aren't above nature, we're just one species among many. Forests, rivers, animals, they all have intrinsic value, whether or not humans find them useful. This, my friends, was a huge shift from the mainstream environmental narrative of the time, which often talked about resources to manage, parks to preserve, or landscapes to enjoy. Earth First said, no, nature isn't here just for us. It exists on its own terms, and it deserves to be defended at all costs. And here's where it gets interesting. They didn't just preach this philosophy, they performed it. Their activism often looked like guerrilla theater, massive banners draped over cliffs, prankish protests, dramatic visuals meant to stir emotion. They wanted to be impossible to ignore. That mix of humor, spectacle, and radical philosophy made Earth First unlike anything else in the environmental stage. Of course, not everyone was cheering them on. Logging companies despised them. Politicians accused them of eco-terrorism. And the FBI, well, they started paying very close attention. Then came one of the darkest chapters, the Judi Bari case. In 1990, Bari, an Earth First organizer, was driving through Oakland when a pipe bomb exploded under her seat. She survived, but was seriously injured. Instead of investigating her as a victim, The FBI accused her of transporting the bomb. It took years, but eventually Bari and fellow activist Daryl Charney sued the FBI, arguing that they had been framed. They won the case, but the ordeal left scars. Not just on Bari herself, but on the whole movement. It was a turning point, showing just how far authorities were willing to go to shut Earth First down, and how dangerous this kind of activism had become. By the mid-1990s, Earth First was splintering. Some members shifted towards more mainstream environmental campaigns, hoping to work within the system. Others doubled down, pushing towards even more radical offshoots like the Earth Liberation Front, which became known for arson attacks on SUVs, ski resorts, and labs. Definitely subscribe to the channel. We're sending out a video about that very, very soon. But Earth First fingerprints are all over today's movements. You see echoes of them in Extinction Rebellion's blockades, in the Standing Rock pipeline protests, and in smaller grassroots fights to protect local forests. Their style, that mix of drama, disruption, and moral urgency, set a blueprint for direct action environmentalism, from now and far into the future. So here's the big question. Was Earth First a vital line of defense for ecosystems under attack, or did their tactics cross the line into dangerous extremism? Well, depending on who you ask, they were either heroes who put their bodies on the line to save ancient forests, or they were reckless radicals who endangered innocent workers. Maybe in some ways, they were both. What's clear is that Abbey's fiction became reality, and that reality continues to ripple outwards. Every time we see activists chaining themselves to machinery, staging headline-grabbing protests, or insisting that nature has rights of its own, we're seeing a piece of Earth First's legacy. And it forces us to reflect. How far are we willing to go to protect the planet? What risks are justified, and which ones cross a line? These are uncomfortable questions, but they're also essential ones. Because climate change, deforestation, and mass extinction aren't abstract issues. They're happening right now. And here's something fascinating. Even after 2020, Earth First fingerprints remain visible. Moments like Extinction Rebellion and the Sunrise Movement and Indigenous-led land defense camps all carry echoes of Earth First tactics. Locking yourself onto machinery and occupying trees and staging theatrical disruptions. They're all still being used, but now framed within the urgency of the climate crisis. Earth First may have faded as an organization, but its DNA is alive in the climate justice struggles of today. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, go check out my video on the Monkey Wrench Gang and more about the novel that was the fuse for all of this. You'll see exactly how a little piece of fiction turned into one of the most controversial environmental movements in history. And hey, don't forget to subscribe if you want more deep dives into the untold stories of nature, rebellion, and the fight for the wild. I've got more episodes lined up on the roots of modern eco-activism, so you don't want to miss any of them. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I will see you next time. Remember, I love you, and I'll see you in the forest.